Women don't care what you do for them. That statement alone might sound harsh, even unfair, but deep down, you know there's a truth in it that cuts through all the illusions we like to believe. You can pour your heart into someone, sacrifice your time, give gifts, provide comfort, and even move mountains just to see them smile. You can give them the world, piece by piece, thinking that your actions will secure their loyalty. But at the end of the day, you'll come to realize that loyalty isn't built on what you do for someone. It's built on something far deeper, something intangible, something that cannot be bought, forced, or faked. This truth is uncomfortable because it challenges everything we've been taught about relationships and devotion. We are raised to believe that if you give enough, if you try hard enough, if you prove yourself over and over again, you will earn someone's loyalty. Yet reality doesn't work that way. Think about it for a moment. There are countless stories of men who have done everything right on paper, worked hard, provided, protected, stayed loyal, remained patient, and still they find themselves standing alone, wondering where it all went wrong. The pain comes not only from the loss, but from the realization that all the effort, all the sacrifices, all the sleepless nights didn't guarantee anything. That's because loyalty doesn't live in actions alone. It doesn't exist in the things you do. It exists in how someone feels about you. And feelings are not controlled by logic, transactions, or grand gestures. They are raw, emotional, deeply personal. When you begin to see this clearly, you stop chasing validation through service. You stop believing that giving more will finally make someone stay. The truth is, people can accept everything you offer and still not feel what they need to feel. You can do everything they ask for and still be the person they walk away from. That realization is painful, but it's also liberating because once you understand it, you no longer tie your worth to how much you do for someone else. You begin to see that your power has never been in what you give, but in who you are. This is why some people seem to effortlessly command loyalty without trying. They don't beg, they don't overextend themselves, and they don't constantly worry about being replaced. Their presence alone creates a bond that actions alone never could. Because true loyalty comes from a place far beyond words or deeds. It comes from emotional connection, respect, and the way someone feels in your presence. You might think, if I just work harder, if I just do more, if I just prove myself one more time, they'll finally see my worth. But that's not how loyalty works. It's not about what you do for them. It's about how they experience you. This is why the opening truth matters so much. Women don't care about the list of things you've done, the sacrifices you've made, or the battles you fought on their behalf. Those things might be appreciated in the moment, but they do not anchor loyalty. The only thing that truly matters is how you make them feel consistently over time. And if that feeling isn't there, no amount of effort will create it. So as we step into this message, understand that this isn't about bitterness or blame. It's about clarity. It's about seeing the world as it truly is, not as we wish it to be. Because when you accept this truth, you stop trying to buy loyalty with actions and start focusing on becoming the kind of person who naturally inspires it. That shift changes everything. It changes how you show up, how you carry yourself, and how you navigate every relationship in your life. This is not a message meant to tear you down. It's meant to wake you up. Because the moment you realize that loyalty can't be purchased or forced, you finally begin to live from a place of strength rather than desperation. And that is where true power begins. Loyalty is often misunderstood because we live in a world where effort is glorified. From the time we are young, we are taught that the harder you try, the more you deserve. You're told that if you give your best, people will appreciate you, stay by your side, and never forget the things you've done for them. It sounds noble, it sounds fair, and for a while, it feels like the right way to live. You believe that your sacrifices are like seeds planted in the ground, and one day they will grow into unwavering loyalty. But reality doesn't always reflect that ideal. The truth is, effort alone isn't enough. No matter how much you give, no matter how hard you try, there's no guarantee that someone will value you the way you expect. And when that realization hits, it can feel like the very foundation of what you've been building has been shattered. Think of how many times you've gone above and beyond for someone, thinking that your consistency would earn their respect. You stayed up late listening to their problems. You worked extra hours to provide for them. You put their needs ahead of your own again and again. And maybe for a while it seemed to work. Maybe they said thank you or showed appreciation here and there. But deep down, you may have noticed a painful pattern. The more you did, the less they seemed to value it. It's almost as if your effort became invisible, like background noise they no longer even heard. And that's the trap so many people fall into. They believe that loyalty is something you earn through endless giving, when in reality, loyalty isn't a wage to be paid. It's a reflection of connection and respect. Here's why this happens. Actions are external, but loyalty is internal. You can buy someone gifts. You can give them comfort, you can provide stability, but you cannot reach inside their heart and create genuine attachment with those actions alone. A person's loyalty is shaped by how they feel about you, not by the checklist of things you've done for them. And feelings are complicated. They don't always respond to logic. That's why someone can love what you do for them, yet still not feel deeply connected to you. It's why a person can say they appreciate you while still drifting away, because appreciation is not the same as loyalty. Appreciation says, thank you for what you've done. Loyalty says, I can't imagine being anywhere else. When you don't understand this distinction, you end up trapped in a cycle of overcompensation. You start thinking, if I just do more, maybe they'll finally see my worth. So you pour even more of yourself into the relationship. You work harder. You give more. You sacrifice at even greater levels. And for a brief moment, it might seem to work, but then the cycle resets and you're back to square one, tired, drained, and wondering why nothing you do seems to stick. This is where resentment begins to grow, because you start to realize that no matter how much you give, it's never enough to secure what you truly want. That's when many people reach a breaking point. They feel used, unappreciated, and deeply hurt. The painful truth is that effort alone has no power if it isn't connected to the right foundation. Actions without alignment are like building a house on sand. It might look strong for a while, but the first storm will reveal its weakness. Loyalty comes from a deeper place than effort. It comes from a bond built on respect, trust, and emotional connection. When those things are missing, no amount of doing will replace them. This is why people who seem to give very little can still hold someone's unwavering loyalty, while those who give endlessly can be discarded without a second thought. It's not fair, but it's real. Understanding this truth can feel like a heavy burden, but it can also be freeing. Because once you realize that effort alone doesn't guarantee loyalty, you stop wasting your energy in the wrong places. You stop trying to prove yourself to someone who was never truly invested to begin with. Instead, you begin to focus on alignment, on connecting with people who value you for who you are, not just for what you do. This shift allows you to take your power back. It allows you to give freely without expectation, knowing that your worth is not measured by how much you sacrifice. So many people live their entire lives believing that if they just keep trying, keep giving, and keep pushing, they will finally be rewarded with loyalty. But here's the truth: loyalty is not a prize to be won through labor. It's a natural response to authenticity and connection. When someone feels deeply connected to you, they will stand by you not because of what you've done, but because of who you are. That's the difference between temporary appreciation and lifelong loyalty. When you understand this, you stop chasing and start attracting. You stop working for loyalty and start embodying the kind of presence that commands it naturally. That's when the game changes forever. One of the most dangerous traps a person can fall into is the belief that if they simply do more, give more, and sacrifice more, it will finally make someone stay. This belief is like quicksand. The harder you struggle, the deeper you sink. Many people convince themselves that loyalty is just one more effort away. They tell themselves, if I can just fix this one thing, if I can just give a little more of myself, if I can just show them how much they mean to me, they'll finally see my worth. But this is nothing more than a painful illusion. The more you chase, the more you lose. The more you overextend, the more the other person begins to take what you do for granted. Over time, your extraordinary effort becomes ordinary to them. Your sacrifices become expected, and your devotion begins to feel like a burden instead of a blessing. This cycle is destructive because it creates an imbalance in the relationship. Instead of two people walking side by side, you end up carrying the entire weight of the bond on your back, desperately trying to hold everything together while the other person simply walks along unbothered and detached. It's like pouring water into a bucket with a hole in the bottom. You give and give, but it never fills up. This dynamic leaves you exhausted, drained, and questioning yourself. You begin to wonder what's wrong with you, why your best isn't good enough, and why all your effort doesn't seem to matter. The truth is, there's nothing wrong with giving, but there's everything wrong with giving endlessly without boundaries or balance. The myth of doing more is deeply ingrained because society romanticizes self-sacrifice. We see stories, movies, and even advice that glorify the idea of proving your love through tireless effort. It paints a picture where the person who gives the most always wins in the end, but real life doesn't work that way. In reality, constantly proving yourself doesn't inspire love or loyalty. It breeds complacency and sometimes even resentment. When someone knows you'll bend over backward no matter what, they stop valuing what you bring to the table. Why? Because there's no challenge, no mystery, no reason for them to invest their own energy. They grow comfortable taking, while you grow weary from giving. This is why doing more is not always the answer. In fact, doing more can actually push someone further away. When you overcompensate, you unintentionally send a message. I don't believe I'm enough as I am, so I must keep giving to be worthy of you. That energy doesn't inspire loyalty, it signals desperation. And desperation is repelling. People are naturally drawn to strength, to confidence, to someone who stands firm in their own value. When you give endlessly without boundaries, you erode that image of strength, and instead of inspiring loyalty, you encourage someone to see you as replaceable. There's another painful truth about this dynamic. Sometimes the more you do, the more you teach someone to expect. What once felt like a special gesture becomes routine. That beautiful thing you did to show your care becomes just another box checked in their mind. Over time, your efforts stop feeling extraordinary because they've been normalized. And once something becomes normal, it's no longer appreciated. It's simply assumed. That's how relationships deteriorate, not because of a lack of action, but because actions lose their meaning when they're not connected to genuine connection and respect. So what's the alternative? The alternative is to shift from trying to earn loyalty to embodying the qualities that naturally command it. This doesn't mean you stop giving altogether. Giving is beautiful when it comes from a place of strength rather than fear. The key is balance. Instead of trying to prove your worth through constant overcompensation, you focus on living with self-respect and boundaries. You give, but you don't overextend. You care, but you don't chase. You love, but you don't beg. This creates a powerful shift because it signals to the other person that your presence is a privilege, not a guarantee. It shows them that you are whole on your own, and while you choose to share yourself with them, you don't need them to validate your value. The moment you stop overcompensating is the moment you reclaim your power. When you no longer feel the need to constantly prove yourself, You begin to attract a different type of relationship, one built on mutual respect and effort. This doesn't just benefit you, benefits the other person as well, because it encourages them to step up and meet you halfway. Loyalty that is freely given, not forced or earned through exhaustion, is the only kind that lasts. Anything less is just temporary attachment disguised as devotion. You must understand this: love without balance is not love at all. It's dependency, and dependency breeds resentment. When you are constantly the one doing, giving, and sacrificing, you are not building a partnership. You are building a cage for yourself. And when you finally see that cage for what it is, it becomes clear that doing more is not the path to freedom. The path to freedom is letting go of the need to prove, the need to chase, and the need to earn loyalty through endless effort. When you rise above that need, you become someone who inspires loyalty naturally, because you are no longer asking for it. You are living as someone who deserves it without question. This is the transformation that changes not only your relationships, but also the way you see yourself and the world around you. There comes a moment in every person's life when they must confront the painful realization that no matter how much they do, how much they sacrifice, or how much they give, it will never guarantee loyalty. This moment can feel like a betrayal, like the universe itself is unfair, because we have been conditioned to believe in the idea of reciprocity, that if you give enough, others will give back in equal measure. But relationships are not simple equations, and loyalty is not a debt to be collected. It is not something you can tally up like points on a scoreboard. This is why so many people stay trapped in cycles of giving, always convinced that just one more act of kindness, one more sacrifice, one more demonstration of love will finally secure what they crave: unwavering devotion. Yet what they do not realize is that this approach is like chasing a mirage in the desert. The closer you think you are to finally earning loyalty, the further away it drifts, leaving you parched, exhausted, and questioning your worth. This is the myth of doing more. It is a myth that convinces you that effort and love are the same thing. It tricks you into believing that if you just keep stacking good deeds one on top of the other, eventually the weight of all you've done will anchor someone to you. But loyalty does not work like that. True loyalty cannot be forced through action, because it is not born from obligation. It is born from genuine connection. You can give someone everything and they may still leave. You can meet every need they express and still never touch the deeper part of their heart where loyalty lives. And when you live under the myth of doing more, you end up burning yourself out, constantly pouring from a cup that never gets refilled. The result is a slow erosion of your spirit. You don't just lose the relationship, you lose yourself. The more you buy into this myth, the more dangerous it becomes, because it traps you in a cycle of dependency. Each time your effort goes unrecognized, you feel compelled to do even more to fix the situation. You tell yourself, maybe I didn't give enough. Maybe I wasn't clear enough. Maybe I didn't try hard enough. So you double down, you overextend, you give and give until there is nothing left, believing that the next gesture, the next sacrifice, the next proof of love will finally be the one that works. But the truth is, this cycle never ends, because the problem isn't that you aren't giving enough. The problem is that loyalty cannot be manufactured through effort alone. In fact, the harder you push, the more you communicate that you are willing to do anything to keep someone, even at the cost of your dignity. And that energy is repulsive to loyalty. It breeds imbalance. It creates a dynamic where one person gives everything while the other person takes without truly valuing what they have. This is why you can see two people in similar situations and the outcomes are completely different. One person does very little, yet their partner is loyal, committed, and fully invested. The other person gives their heart, soul, and every ounce of energy, yet they are met with indifference or even betrayal. From the outside, this seems unfair, but when you look closer, the difference is clear. Loyalty is not about the amount of effort expended. It's about the emotional experience created. People are loyal to how you make them feel, not to the list of things you've done for them. If your actions do not align with an emotional connection that inspires trust and respect, they will be forgotten or taken for granted. The myth of doing more also creates a dangerous illusion of control. It tricks you into thinking that you can control another person's feelings or choices through sheer determination. You believe that if you just find the right combination of actions, you can make them love you, make them stay, make them see your value. But control is an illusion. No amount of effort can override someone's free will. No amount of giving can make someone feel something they do not feel. This is why some of the most heartbreaking moments come when you finally realize that despite all your sacrifices, the other person's heart was never truly with you. That realization can shatter you unless you see it for what it really is: freedom. Freedom from the endless, exhausting cycle of trying to force loyalty where there is none. When you finally break free from this myth, something powerful happens. You begin to redirect all that energy inward. Instead of giving endlessly to someone who cannot or will not appreciate it, you begin to invest in yourself. You start to recognize that your worth is not defined by how much you do for others. You understand that loyalty must flow naturally, and if it does not, no amount of effort will change that. This is where true strength is born. Because when you stop chasing, you start attracting. You begin to embody the kind of presence that commands respect without ever needing to beg for it. You create a space where loyalty is freely given, not coerced, and in doing so, you reclaim your dignity and your peace. The myth of doing more keeps people trapped in relationships where they are perpetually undervalued. It keeps them stuck in situations where they confuse exhaustion for love and servitude for devotion. But the moment you see through the illusion, you begin to live differently. You stop overextending. You stop trying to fix what was never yours to fix. And most importantly, you stop tying your worth to someone else's willingness to stay. That is when you begin to rise above the cycle and become someone who inspires loyalty, not through desperation, but through strength and authenticity. Because in the end, loyalty cannot be earned by doing more. It can only be inspired by being more. And when you become that person, you'll never again have to question where someone stands, because their loyalty will not be forced. It will be undeniable. Now we arrive at the truth that many people struggle to accept, the truth that cuts through all the confusion and misunderstanding about why loyalty seems so elusive. You see, loyalty isn't about what you do, how much you provide, or how far you're willing to go to keep someone happy. Those things might be appreciated, they might even be momentarily admired, but they are not the foundation upon which lasting loyalty is built. The heart of loyalty is much simpler, and yet far more complex. Women are loyal to how you make them feel. This is the one thing, the single, unshakable truth that determines whether someone stays deeply committed or slowly drifts away. People don't wake up every morning tallying your good deeds, keeping a record of how much you've given them. What they wake up to is the emotional reality you've created in their life. If that reality is vibrant, inspiring, and fulfilling, loyalty grows naturally. If it is cold, uninspiring, or hollow, loyalty fades no matter how much you've done. Feelings are powerful because they bypass logic. You can make every logical argument for why someone should stay loyal to you. You can point to all your sacrifices and say, look at everything I've done, but loyalty doesn't live in the realm of logic. It lives in the heart. This is why someone can leave a relationship that appears perfect on paper while staying in a relationship that outsiders would call irrational. To the outside world, it might not make sense, but to the person experiencing it, it makes perfect emotional sense. Because loyalty is about the feeling of being seen, valued, and deeply understood. When someone feels emotionally connected to you in this way, You don't have to beg for loyalty. You don't have to demand it. It flows naturally because the connection speaks louder than any action or promise ever could. This is why some people seem to inspire unwavering loyalty without even trying. It's not because they do more. It's because they embody certain qualities that create powerful emotional experiences: strength, confidence, presence, purpose. These are not things you can fake. They are states of being that others feel when they are around you. When you walk in your purpose, when you carry yourself with quiet strength, when you create a sense of safety and inspiration, you naturally awaken deep loyalty. It's not about manipulation or playing games. It's about becoming someone whose very existence brings out the best in others. Think about it. People want to be around those who make them feel secure, valued, and uplifted. They gravitate toward those who challenge them to grow and who make them feel alive. When you embody those qualities, you don't have to chase loyalty. It will seek you out. But here's where many people make a crucial mistake. They focus on external actions rather than internal growth. They try to do things to create feelings instead of becoming the kind of person who naturally evokes those feelings. This is why so many relationships fail despite massive effort. The focus is on fixing problems from the outside in, rather than building strength from the inside out. For example, buying gifts might create temporary excitement, but it doesn't create lasting connection. Saying the right words might soothe for a moment, but it doesn't build unshakable trust. True loyalty comes from the deeper qualities you embody, the energy you bring into every interaction, the way you lead with purpose and integrity, the way you remain steady no matter what storms arise. These things cannot be bought or faked, which is why they are so rare and so powerful. Consider the opposite scenario. Imagine someone who does everything right externally, provides financial stability, says all the right words, makes all the right gestures, but internally they are insecure, anxious, or disconnected. No matter how perfect their actions seem, there will always be a subtle energy of imbalance. The other person may appreciate the actions, but they will feel the instability beneath them. And over time, that instability erodes loyalty, because at the deepest level, loyalty is about trust, not just trust in your actions, but trust in your very essence. Do they trust you to be who you say you are? Do they trust you to stand firm when things get difficult? Do they trust you to lead with vision rather than react from fear? If the answer is no, no amount of doing will change that. The power of this realization is that it shifts your focus completely. Instead of exhausting yourself trying to control someone else's loyalty, you begin to focus on the only thing you can control: yourself. You stop asking, what can I do to make them stay? And start asking, who must I become to inspire natural, effortless loyalty? That question changes everything. It takes you out of a mindset of scarcity and desperation and places you into a space of abundance and strength. Because when you embody the qualities that create deep emotional bonds, you don't have to fight for loyalty. It becomes a byproduct of who you are. This truth may seem simple, but it is revolutionary when you fully embrace it. It means that you never again have to live in fear of losing someone who was never truly connected to you. It means you can stop chasing and start attracting. It means you can stop begging for scraps of loyalty and instead become the kind of person who commands respect without ever demanding it. And most importantly, it means you can finally let go of the illusion that loyalty is about doing more. Loyalty has never been about the list of things you've done. It has always been about how you make someone feel in your presence and how consistently you show up as your strongest, true self. When you grasp this, everything changes. You realize that the key to lasting relationships isn't in grand gestures or endless sacrifice. It's in the daily cultivation of qualities that naturally create loyalty. When you are grounded in your purpose, when you lead with strength and integrity, when you bring inspiration and safety into someone's life, loyalty isn't something you have to earn. It's something you effortlessly command. This is the one thing women are truly loyal to, not what you give them, not what you do for them, but how you make them feel. And when you master that, you will never again have to question where someone stands, because their loyalty will be as steady and unshakable as the foundation you've built within yourself. The journey toward creating unshakable loyalty does not begin with trying to change anyone else. It begins with you. It begins with an inward transformation where you stop looking outward for validation and start mastering yourself. Too many people spend their entire lives chasing loyalty from others while neglecting to build the qualities within themselves that naturally inspire it. They live in a constant state of reaction, reacting to rejection, to fear, to the possibility of loss. This reactive state creates desperation, and desperation will never command respect. If you want lasting loyalty, you must first develop the kind of strength that does not waver when others do. You must cultivate an identity so solid that no one's presence or absence can shake your sense of worth. This is the foundation of self-mastery. To be rooted so deeply in who you are that you stop needing to prove yourself through endless actions and start radiating the kind of energy that draws people in effortlessly. The truth is, people are naturally drawn to strength, not just physical strength, but emotional, mental, and spiritual strength. When you have control over your emotions, when you can face challenges with calmness and clarity, when you walk with purpose instead of constantly guessing yourself, you become magnetic. Others feel it without you having to say a word. Your presence alone creates a sense of safety and stability. This is incredibly powerful because safety is one of the deepest human needs. When someone feels safe with you, not just physically, but emotionally, they develop a natural sense of trust. And trust is the soil in which loyalty grows. Without it, loyalty withers no matter how much you do or how many sacrifices you make. This is why mastering yourself is non-negotiable. Without inner strength, all your outer actions are built on shaky ground. Self-mastery also requires discipline. Discipline over your habits, your thoughts, and your impulses. When you lack discipline, you live at the mercy of temporary emotions and fleeting desires. You make promises you can't keep. You act out of fear. You react instead of lead. This creates instability, and instability erodes loyalty. But when you are disciplined, when you say what you mean and follow through with action, you create a reputation of reliability. People come to know that when you speak, your words hold weight. This builds a sense of respect that no amount of giving or begging could ever achieve. Respect is a cornerstone of loyalty. Someone may appreciate you without respecting you, but they cannot be truly loyal to you without respect. It is respect that keeps them grounded when temptation or challenges arise. And respect begins with how you treat yourself. There is a difference between needing someone and being someone worth following. Too many people operate from a place of neediness. They enter relationships like beggars, hoping to be chosen, validated, and accepted. This neediness seeps into every interaction, creating pressure and imbalance. It drives them to overgive, to overextend, to do anything just to avoid rejection. But here's the painful truth. People do not remain loyal to neediness. They may pity it, they may exploit it, but they will never respect it. On the other hand, when you focus on becoming someone of value, someone with vision, integrity, and purpose, you flip the dynamic entirely. You move from chasing loyalty to commanding it. This doesn't mean you control others. It means you embody a strength and clarity that naturally inspires devotion. To build this kind of presence, you must be willing to do the hard inner work. This includes confronting your fears, healing from past wounds, and letting go of limiting beliefs. Many people carry scars from old betrayals and disappointments, and without realizing it, they bring these wounds into their present relationships. They try to cover up their pain with overcompensation, thinking that if they just give enough, they won't be hurt again. But unhealed wounds create instability. They make you hyper, vigilant, insecure, and reactive. Self-mastery involves facing these wounds head on. It means taking responsibility for your healing instead of expecting someone else to do it for you. When you do this, you free yourself from the chains of the past and create space for healthy, balanced connections. This journey is not easy. It requires patience, courage, and relentless commitment to growth. There will be moments when you feel tempted to revert back to old patterns, to chase, to overgive, to settle for less than you deserve. But every time you choose self-respect over desperation, you strengthen your foundation. Every time you set a boundary instead of compromising yourself, you reinforce your worth. Over time, these choices compound. You transform into someone who no longer has to ask for loyalty. You become the type of person whose very presence inspires it. Here's the most beautiful part. When you reach this level of self-mastery, you no longer fear losing loyalty because you understand that true loyalty cannot be taken from you. It either exists naturally or it doesn't. As you build this strength within yourself, something remarkable begins to happen. The people who were never truly loyal to you start to fall away. This may hurt at first, but it is ultimately a blessing. Their departure creates space for those who truly value you to step in. You begin to attract relationships built on mutual respect, shared vision, and authentic connection. And because you no longer operate from fear, you are able to navigate these relationships with clarity and confidence. You don't need to control or manipulate anyone to stay. You simply continue being the strongest, truest version of yourself, and loyalty flows naturally from those who are meant to walk beside you. The goal is not to become perfect or untouchable. The goal is to become so rooted in your own worth and purpose that you no longer compromise yourself for the sake of temporary validation. When you reach this place, you no longer fear being alone because you know you are whole on your own. You no longer beg for loyalty because you understand that true loyalty is a reflection of alignment, not effort. And you no longer overgive because you've learned that the most powerful gift you can offer anyone is the strength of your authentic self. This is the essence of self-mastery. It is the key to building relationships that are not only loyal but deeply fulfilling. It is the path to becoming someone who inspires others to rise higher simply by being in your presence. And when you reach this level, loyalty is no longer something you seek. It is something you naturally attract effortlessly and undeniably.